The truth here is you actually know. You might be suppressing that knowledge. You might not trust yourself, but you know at some level, it deep inside you, you have spidey senses and you have to start trusting that. So how do you do that? How do you start knowing what is your truth? What is your intuition speaking to you versus just a random thought? Well, this happens on the field of play. It doesn't happen in a vacuum. You have to get on the field of play. And this means being willing to make mistakes. And this stops so many women wanting to be perfect in advance of the experience. That's the mentality. I need to be perfect in advance of having the experience because I'm going to be hurt or judged or shamed if I make a mistake. And yet we become more, we become bigger, we become our greatest versions of ourselves when we put ourselves out there, learn from our mistakes. And that's not just a pat kind of attitude, flip thing to say, of course you learn from your mistakes, but there's like this deep underbelly of holding back that I see for fear of making a mistake. And you have to put yourself on the field of play because if you don't, you'll never be able to triangulate the information that you get from making a good decision or a bad decision. And when you actually go forward, make decisions, and start triangulating it, you get a kind of business intelligence. You get that experience that then is in your cells, and you know instantaneously whether something's a yes or a no, a left or a right, a go, no go. Like you know so deeply. So a great example of this is a recent last year example of running Facebook ads. And I kept asking about the targeting. I kept saying, I don't think we're targeting the right people. I was assured that we were. And I kept asking it and kept asking it. And finally I was like, show me the targeting. Like, this does not seem right. And the targeting was off. It wasn't right. And I just had a spidey sense about it. And I knew something was off. The numbers were telling me that we were off. Like we weren't having effective use of our efforts or money, all of that. And I just knew in my gut something was off. And sure enough, when we dug in, I was correct. So that is a kind of business intelligence that you need to pay attention to. Another example of this is around team. When you just know someone isn't the right fit for your team, or the business has grown bigger than what they can contribute. And, that's happened multiple times for me. And I've had to learn to trust my spidey senses and gut intuition on that and make faster decisions. And zero regrets about that and the way it's worked. But that's an example of like over time, you just know, and you can go through the motions of trying to make it work, but you on some level just know, and you might as well rip the Band-Aid off and compassionately move forward and on. The same thing with contractors. That's another great place to use your intuition. When you're trying to make a decision of, whether to work with a contractor, make an investment to work with a contractor, and you don't have any data from working with them, you have to base it on something. What's the business intelligence that you can base it on? And this is another place where it's really important to have had that experience so you can fall back on paying attention to your intuition and self-trust there and start learning to trust yourself. So the more experience that you have, the more triangulation of that experience you can make, and the more trust that you can create for yourself. So this is where you can just show up as a leader and say, I just know. My intuition is this, and that is enough business intelligence for you to make a powerful decision.